office. All right, let's get it. Tuma is a great guy, okay? Tuma has been working in the DMV area for a while. I first met Tuma through Tabby, Bonet, Cool Kids, and then we're gonna talk about all of that. Everybody get their hands up for Tuma. All right, what it do, Tuma, what it do? So, I know we were talking, let's have a seat, Tuma. Everybody can see him? Everybody can see Tuma? All right, so we're gonna get into some conversation, and I'm gonna let you guys ask some questions. I was just reading your bio, and to talk about all the things you do, but what exactly is it that you do?
So my name is Tuma Basa, as Bird said, and I work at YouTube. I'm the director of Black Music and Culture. I work with all the different departments at YouTube, whether it be label relations or artist relations or public relations or the ad sales or trust and safety or government and public affairs. Whenever there's something that has to do with Black music or Black culture, right? Myself and there's other specialists in the company, we make sure that we do it right. We make sure that whatever we do is mutually beneficial, that the word is getting out to everybody, support, you know what I mean? Places like YouTube, which are global companies, have like offices in India and offices, you see what I'm saying? Talking to different peoples is what we do is make sure that whether it be here in America or Black people and Black music in the UK, Africa, Caribbean, that we do it right. You see what I'm saying? And we do right. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay, so how many people in here are like in the music industry career-wise? Anybody want to be in the music industry career-wise? How many of y'all have applied for a job in the music industry and didn't get it? I'm raising my hands. Keep it there. There, keep it there. I just had to tag you just to let you know, just in case you got something available. It's like, no, I'm playing. But I want to know, how did you get here, Tuma? Like, what is the journey to get to be the director of YouTube, Black music culture, and to do all the other things? I guess you have to explain. You've been to Revolt, MTV, and etc. Like, what was your very first job in this industry? Where did it start?
It was here in DC, BET. Greg Diggs over there, he hired me. He was the music director at BET. Stand up, Greg.
Shout out, Greg.
Greg Diggs.
Yeah.
Greg was like a music programming legend. He used to work with Donnie Simpson. I think it was at WKYS or WPGC, etc. He came to BET. He was the music director. I came to DC. I was an intern in the news department. They allowed me to help out one day a week, and then a guy named Dave Hawley was accepted into law school all of a sudden, and I was already ready because I had been helping out, etc. And this is the most important thing, right? Especially at the internship level, because BT was actually my third internship, right? The most important thing is the ability to get along with your team, to add value to your team, right? Is that they don't feel like it's some kind of, they're gonna babysit you, it's a handicap, a liability, it's gonna be additional stress, etc. So for me, I got in, actually, Greg, you don't even remember this, but I had a job offer with a show called By the Book in the news department that paid a lot more than music, but music was what I wanted to do, and that's what I had been, that's why I actually watched BET and was excited to be there. And I took that position when Dave Hawley was accepted. I took that position. You said, hey, this is how much they're paying. I said, yeah, I want it. And then you actually, Greg, I don't know if you remember this, you actually added some money to the salary, etc. Because I was so quick, like I want it. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the money. And that's actually, by the way, that was 24 years ago. That was 24 years ago. And the reason why I believe I'm still here or still excited or still like Pop is because it's not about the money. It's about the music. It's about the people. It's about the culture. And when you do all those things first, and you engage, and you absorb, and you share, and et cetera, you get back a lot. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I started here at BT. You want me to do the thing? But now let me be specific, okay? That was music programming, and that's what I ended up doing for 20 years, right? Is music programming, which is basically like selecting music. You know what I mean? So at BET, I was the cue sheet coordinator. I just filled out, when they played a music video, I filled out the cue sheets, etc. And then I eventually became the person you sent the videos to. Then eventually they even let me work on BET Uncut. Like, you know what I mean? In another show called Fade to Black. Eventually I got a job in 2002, 20 years ago, at MTV, where I was programming MTV Jams and MTV2 Sucker Free. So I was selecting the songs and the videos and putting them in a software called Selector, and which basically what radio stations use. Right. So that ended up, then Puff called. Puff was like, Playboy, what are they saying about Revolt over at MTV? I told Puff, I was like, it was in the middle of the night, and Bentley Farnsworth called, so I thought someone died, because it was like, why am I getting a call this time? He was like, yo, what are they saying about me over at MTV? I was like, they're not saying anything. He's like, yo, I need you to come over here. And we launched this music channel, Revolt, right? So I went to Revolt. Spent a year at Revolt. No, 3 years at Revolt. It took us a year and a half to launch it, right? Oh, it takes a long, because you have to get all the licensing for all the music. You got, you know what I mean? You have to get a catalog. There's a lot. You have to staff up the programming. There's a lot. So it took us a year and a half to launch that. And then that's when I became the head of hip hop at Spotify. We started Rap Caviar. That blew up. And that was like, that went crazy. And then Leo called. When he went over to YouTube Music, and he was like, let's do this right. And YouTube is a whole nother animal. That's humongous. It's humongous.
Yeah, we were talking about building partnerships and building communities earlier. And how do you feel, because you've been in the DMV for a while, and infrastructure is one of those words. How do you feel about the partnerships that you've been able to build within the communities? Like, I know we talked about BET once being here. Like, we have to stop saying the word infrastructure because it's here, and I know YouTube is here. So I guess just talk about, on a roundabout figure, like, what does infrastructure mean for you here in the DMV?
Well, first, DC has it a lot better than a lot of cities. A lot better. The nightlife, right? Places like Radio 1, right, that actually are based here downtown Silver Spring. You said, remember, Radio 1 is not just WKYS. Radio 1 is like Cleveland station. Yeah, exactly. The KBXX in Houston. It's a Detroit. WJLB. It's like a whole lot of radio stations. So you have Radio 1. I know XM Radio started here and then moved to New York. BET started here, moved to New York. Discovery, when I say Discovery, it's not the culture, but it's jobs. You see what I'm saying? If it's production jobs. And that moved to New York, so what needs to happen... Okay.
I'm about to say now.
Okay.
What?
This is what needs to happen, and it's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen easily. So we talk about that pattern of people having to leave to blow up. And we know there's a lot of DC artists who are from here, but you know what I mean? Whether it be Corday or Ari Lex, and then they go to get a check in Atlanta. Or I was with Alex Vaughn and what's the other guy's name? Oh man, no, not DJ Money was there, but he's a young kid. He's like an 18-year-old kid, plays guitar from Prince George's County. It's dope. Well, yeah. So what happens is this is the deal. Is before a lot of technologies, you had to get up and go to a place with a concentration of power, where there was the people who write the checks, who make the decisions. LA, New York, Miami, Atlanta. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? In order to reach people outside of your region, right? This is changing. And part of the reason it's changing, things like YouTube, things like social media. You see what I'm saying? Over the pandemic, we learned about Zoom, right? This is changing. Actually changed when Soulja Boy in his Mississippi living room, it like went viral. That was actually when it started changing, right? But he still had to go to Atlanta to get that check from Mr. Colley Park, or he had to go to LA to get that check from Interscope, right? But what's happening is we're now moved into the work from anywhere movement because we have these cell phones. We were back there. Someone was like, "This is my office," right? Like somebody back there said, "This is my office," and was talking about their cell phone, right? So now we're in a place where it's work from anywhere, right? The next place is the succeed from anywhere. You see what I'm saying? Is when you don't have to leave DC or Baltimore or Milwaukee or Malawi or Zimbabwe, right? In order to get a check. You see what I'm saying? And all that is changing. And technology is changing. Even the way people are getting paid with cash apps, et cetera, is changing. Monetization on platforms like YouTube and streaming services changing, right? So what happens is now DC has to be prepared for that time, where DC is a ecosystem, it's a community, it's a creative economy, right? So that when NFTs or other decentralized technology kind of kick in, that it's one of the places that saw it coming and did not miss out, or there was first. Because do not. Okay, it's a too long of answer. I'll go on for another hour. I'll go on for another hour. Yeah.
So what are we supposed to do until that time arrives? Because it's great to hear that, right?
Yeah.
But if we can work from anywhere, then why not just go anywhere?
Well, for the first thing is unity, right? I study Atlanta, right? And one of the reasons that I believe Atlanta succeeds is because Atlanta supports Atlanta, right? And they've created enough of a marketplace where you can sustain, you can actually do well because you have this market. And Atlanta is not just physically. I know the Umretta, the great song, was talking about Decatur is not Atlanta. No, Atlanta is actually that whole area. It's the whole sphere of influence, right? Yeah, ecosystem. I believe Atlanta stretches out to Montgomery, Alabama, and Jacksonville, Florida, et cetera, because of the influence, Chattanooga, Tennessee, because of the influence Atlanta has, and because people go in there to check it. So DC, DMV needs to do the exact same thing, where the marketplace is unified. When something's hot in Atlanta, if Young Thug's the hottest in the streets in Atlanta, the whole city throws its weight behind. We saw that with Jeezy. We saw that with Tip. We've seen it a million times. Lil Baby, the whole city. If a dance trend or a subgenre, snap, trap, crunk, whatever, the whole city throws its weight behind, and the rest of the world catches on. They don't care if you don't catch on. You can go to Atlanta, they'll play Yola, the great song, the whole place will go nuts, and you're like, oh, etc., because they don't care, because they have enough to support. So the only way, and this is macro, I'll get to micro in a second. The only way that DC is where you say, okay, when I lived here in the 90s. Nobody ever said DMV. I never heard of DMV until like Wale and Tabby and all them, you know what I mean?
You pointed to me first.
No, I never heard of it. No, I never heard of DMV until like the 2000s.
I used to get that a lot.
I was in New York, I was like, DMV. I was like, DMV. I was like, okay, I like that. And this is the reason I like that, is because the footprint expanded, the market expanded, the power, the unity. You see what I'm saying? It's simplified. So what happens is, so even when a bird called me on a Clubhouse, when Clubhouse was really popping, and there was an argument about whether Baltimore or Richmond should be considered. Yeah, you should 100%.
Hell yeah.
Because what happens is this, because we're living in an age where numbers count. There's power in numbers. So you can just, if you don't want to succeed, then don't support other people. You see what I'm saying? If you want to succeed, support other people. And especially if this area has a slang or a swag or a way of dressing or food or etc. You see what I'm saying? That's how. And I can tell you a theory before, because I just remember this theory. There was a time LA was in a drought, right? This is post-death row, et cetera, et cetera. It was like a 10-year drought. But I remember Problem and I Am Sue, right? Working together. Problem was from LA, I Am Sue was from the Bay, and they had two totally different sounds. But all of a sudden, there was this young California movement, right? Where all the DJs, it was this DJ Amen, DJ Charisma, all these DJs had this young California movement, and they were supporting each other's music. And all of a sudden, there was a new energy, and things like the DJ Mustard sound, because I was living there at the time, and then I saw it happen on the ground level. I saw it happen. Right? Then all of a sudden the Ty Dolla Signs and the YGs and they all work together. All of them. You see what I'm saying? And all the Love Rants and all this. This is at that time, right? So what happens is the only way that all of this infrastructure will even matter is if there's that support system, if there's that culture of collaboration, if there's that consistent output. Right? It's the only way. The only way. Okay.
So you need unity from the artists or the behind the scene people?
It's both. Both. Because what happens is when you divide, it gets like toxic politics. You see what I'm saying? Politics is unavoidable, right? You can't avoid politics. This is a political town, like, you know what I mean? But what happens is if you can put the politics beside you and know what's best for the big picture, and that's always first, and there's some kind of shaming element, right? Where somebody gets called out for not putting the city first or putting DMV first or the Mid-Atlantic first, etc., or black people first, right? That you're gonna put some other stuff, because what happens, you force people to pick sides. Then you can't have events because you can't invite so-and-so, you can't invite this so-and-so, or this and this is gonna pop off, or whatever. So what happens is putting that aside, say, hey, like, this is good for business, if we, you know what I mean? And having some type of understanding or ethics, you know what I mean? When it comes to matters of business, it's like, no, we're not bringing that shit here. You see what I'm saying? We're not doing this. You see what I'm saying?
All right, cool. No, I had the question, and it was the content question. I'm going to ask one more question, because I know a lot of people probably have questions with Tuma, and I think it'll be great if we can piggyback and just open up the floor a little bit. But my question is, for in the age of content creating, right? And creating content, it's way too much censorship.
Censorship?
We can barely get it off. I'm afraid to post. DMV News is clapping because he will post videos. I will not post them. So the reason why Made in the DMV does not go hard with posts, because they snatch us. It don't matter if it's local.
Is it clearance? Are you talking about music clearances, or?
I mean, just in the average of, like, you know.
Well, this is, you know what's gonna happen. All right, we're coming back to the DMV, right? We're coming back to the DMV. Coming with Wallow in, like, I think 2 months.
That's been announced here.
Yeah. This is breaking news.
Exclusive.
Right here.
Breaking news.
Right here.
Thank you.
Breaking news.
Thank
You're getting
you.
breaking news. And we're going to bring subject matter experts, right? We have a program. Here, don't tweet this. There's a program called Avenues. Don't tweet this, please. This is for the room, right? Well, we're going to bring subject matter experts. We're going to talk about things like monetization, things like trust and safety, things like analytics, things like content strategy. You know what I mean? All these type of things in a way that's, like, interesting, okay? It's not like a instruction manual, and like, look, nobody reads terms and conditions, and you just say, I accept, right? And which is a problem, by the way, because the same thing happens with record contracts. People don't get lawyers or read, etc., but they agree to it. So it's fair if you agree to it. But what happens is, so what we've done is we created a program with Wallow, and we're hitting DC, Philly, Detroit, where else? Atlanta, Houston, like, you see what I'm saying? And coming with a customized, I don't want to call it, it's not a curriculum. It's just the information, what you need to know in the way that you need to know it, because not everything is relevant to us, and et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to come back and address the YouTube specific stuff, you know? Yeah, that's breaking news right here.
So I want to open up the floor for questions. Do we have any questions, or should I go on? Okay, cool. We got a lot of questions. Let's start. Murray. Yeah, Murray, what's your question?
Hi, Black Owned Food Hall, the first in the city and like the third in the country, right? And so the art of storytelling is such a big deal in our culture, and we do it a lot through music, but people are starting to do it through docs and other avenues like YouTube. And I know YouTube has done like the YouTube Black Fund, which puts money behind creatives to do that sort of work. Is something like that coming? And is that also going to be place-based for entrepreneurs? For creators?
Yeah, we'll get the information there too. But I think the next deadline for the next round of applications is coming in a few months. They're about to make an announcement. Oh, but now I'm talking too much. Like that's all right. Okay. But it's coming. Yeah. But it's coming for the creators and for artists. You know, it's called the Black Voices Fund, and there's a lot of right now they're not doing like moments. It's more of like artists and creators, like people who have active YouTube pages, etc. You know, who are really consistently outputting, because you can't ask for support if you're not using the platform. You see what I'm saying? There's so many people who are using it. So many. You have to remember, billions of hours getting uploaded every day, billions of daily active users, billions, not millions, billions, right? Like people in like Singapore, like, you know what I mean? Like, et cetera, et cetera. So what happens is, think of your channel like a report card, like, you know what I mean? Like, keep it healthy, because when those opportunities come, right, that's the first thing they're gonna look at is the channel health. Let's see how this is, you know what I mean? And it's not about the size of it, it's the engagement. It's utilizing all the different features. But we're gonna get into that in avenues. We're gonna get into that for sure. Yeah.
Right. All right, next question. Who was next?
Nah, I got a question. So for artists trying to get on playlists on the YouTube music platform, who do you recommend that we reach out to try to get in touch with the curators?
So, all right, that's a good question, because I did playlists for many years, right? And the first thing, I want to bust a myth that getting a playlist is going to blow you up, right? That's not what's going to happen.
I do.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. And then
when we were at Spotify,
yeah.
Flock's not in here, but Tuma put Flock on there, and we put the 21 Savage record on there, the Black KK record, and Tuma put it on. I think you actually gave us a rap caveat, thank God. And we were at, it was a low number, we just could not get there. When you put us on that list, it's over 1 million plays now.
Well, first
but it didn't blow. It didn't do anything.
Wait. Okay, all right. Let me get some chronological context, and I'm gonna think chronological context to that.
Okay.
That was the early days of like streaming services, right? Where now it's common knowledge that those playlists have the power to push. At that time, it wasn't common knowledge. You know what I mean? So there was a little bit more liberty at that time and less scrutiny in terms of the selections. It was, like for example, I programmed MTV Jams for 10 years, but I also did MTV 2 Sucker Free. MTV 2 Sucker Free was had ratings, right? So you have to be very careful what you put on, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Jams, it was about vibes, right? It was less households. There was no. It wasn't like managerial surveillance, like, what are you playing, et cetera, et cetera. It's just like, yo, let's just play the dopest stuff. That kind of purity starts to disappear when you become more accountable. I'm just being 100% honest, right? So at that time, in the early days when it hadn't, at least the culture, the industry had not really caught on, it was a little bit more leeway to make those kind of moves. Now, everybody knows, right? Now I'm gonna get to your question. Everybody knows. So now the filter that most curators do is what is happening with your audience. Have you demonstrated demand, right? They have so much music to choose from. So even the stuff they get to listen to, right, is it actually like happening, and where is it happening? We might use YouTube as a reference is to see, hey, are people actually going in there and listening, and what's the watch time and the commenting and sharing on social media. So we have ways of seeing that, right? So my advice is not to try to get on a playlist or try to get a plug for the playlist, is to build your audience, and then the people who have the ears of those curators are gonna say your name. They're gonna surface. They're actively looking. You see what I'm saying? They're actively looking. And also there's ways of monetizing now, even before. So you see what I'm saying? So you're building even your own Yeah, exactly. You know, so my advice, don't use playlists as some kind of shortcut or the marketing strategy, right? Is use that as a destination in the journey, and do not skip steps, because skipping steps, even if it takes off, without that foundation to land on, and the foundation being the audience and an attentive audience, captive audience, right? Who are engaging whatever platform you go to, they migrate, right? When artists used to come to the office, I used to get in their head and just mess around. It's like, oh, so you want to be a SoundCloud artist, or you want to play with the big boys, etc., etc. And I was saying, if you that was just, this is back then. There's no diss to any platforms. But what happens is what I was doing was saying, hey, if your audience is real, if the demand for your music is real, your fans are gonna come with you. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? But if everything is lopsided and is just in one place, that just means that there's some kind of manipulation in terms of, you know what I mean? How you're gaming the algorithm or whatever. But you want to create a story, multi-platform story, right? I work at YouTube, but I'm gonna tell you, populate as many platforms as possible. This is good for the culture. Is because when somebody, and people are always watching, people are always looking, they come and look and they say, oh, this is the real deal. Look, it's consistent, no matter what. And they're counting on vanity metrics, which is the views you see, right? Not the back end. When you go into YouTube studio, you'll know all the, you know what I mean? All the other stuff. But just, yeah, but don't skip steps. Don't try to shortcut to playlists. Yeah.
All right, DMV is news. We definitely want you to get to you.
How she brought up with the over censorship, you know what I'm saying?
What was being censored? I'm just curious.
Like basically everything that I post, like it will be like barely any cuss words in the video. I say damn, and then I get demonetized for swear words.
Oh, the demonetization.
It just be like, it'd be not even just demonetization. I lost my monetization, you know.
Okay.
Like they said, I reuse content, but me as a media outlet and news, I have to use resources from the news and stuff like that.
I don't want to speak on, because we're bringing subject matter experts. So
Yeah,
I don't want to give.
We'll make sure you in
faulty.
the class,
yeah,
right?
But
I'll make sure you.
But
get
just one thing I want to say, because you come to avenues and we'll think. Well, one thing I want to say is monetization is brands running ads on content, right? Brands, anyone who's worked at a company that's a consumer-facing brand, I'm not talking about like working for a company that deals with other business to business, right? Like thing is there's no brands that want their ads on some like things that make people, you know what I mean? Yeah. They don't want their ads. I'm just telling you overall. You'll get a deeper thing, but I'm just giving you the top level part, you know?
I just wanted to know what was the preventative measures, like, you know what I'm saying, to prevent those type of situations. Because sometimes I feel like the demonetization is taken out of context sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's where the information. That's why we decided like we're gonna hit the road, and you know what I mean, and get out there and touch the people and literally, you know what I mean, share this information. You know what I mean?
So yeah, when he come back, we'll definitely tap in. He got DMV Hoods and News, so it's a big platform. He started page.
Oh, I follow DMV Hood News on Twitter.
On Twitter or Instagram?
No, Instagram. No, Twitter is Kilmo.
Kilmo, that's Kilmo News.
Yeah. No, DMV Hood News is Instagram. I follow DMV Hood News on.
You follow his Instagram.
I follow your Instagram.
Yeah, so he set it down, built it back up, went to 100, went to 30, went to 50. It's an incredible brand.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and by the way, let me applaud both you and Bird, because these are very necessary. You know what I mean? We're talking about infrastructure, very necessary. The recap, the curation, is the storytelling is so necessary in order to, you know what I mean? For expansion purposes, for posterity. Posterity is when you just for archives. You know what I mean? Just for the history, etc. You know, so hey, can we give applause? And Bird, I love this, by the way.
Thank you.
This is very, very necessary.
I definitely want to give.
Yeah.
I stayed Now, what y'all see online, but me and Hoods have had some real conversations, and I definitely want to give him his flowers. I know everybody in this room know him. Brother, you do deserve your flowers. That is why you are here. It does not matter. That is why you are here. And if you don't like somebody do, let's bring them to the fold. Let's have more conversations. You know what I'm saying? If we trying to help them out, let's not just look at it and say, oh my God. Let's try to help. That's why we're going to get you on avenues. Next question.
All right, my question kind of piggybacks on like what you just ended with. Sorry, I wrote it down because I want to make sure I was very clear. So going on like the politics of music. So I was one of the people that was kind of on the fence about Richmond and Baltimore being part of the DMV because I just felt like they have a very distinct sound. But to your point about when you were talking about California and how they were able to come together in like the Bay Area and LA and all that stuff.
That's based on observation. Like there are people there might say something different, but that's from what I saw in the series of events that led to California coming back.
Okay, I got you. So in your opinion, how do you curate the sound to move the culture forward?
Well, the thing is this, when you do curation, right, and Greg's here, he could probably, when you do curation, a lot of it is about proportion and balance, right, where you do hip hop, R&B, and maybe you have a little dancehall record, et cetera, but you kind of self-identify. You say, hey, this is our musical identity, and there's diversity and different musics, different styles, different lifestyles applied to different day parts. Like, you know what I mean? DC invented Quiet Storm Radio. I didn't know that until I watched a YouTube video. Yeah, I didn't know that. I watched a YouTube video on Vox's channel, and it was talking about WHUR and how I was like, what? I was like, I never, et cetera, et cetera. Is this different use cases, different moods, different moments that require different kinds of music? So you just don't lump them in. You know what I mean? You have to, curation is putting it together and not like, if I'm putting an outfit together, I don't want my colors to clash. You see what I'm saying? Et cetera, et cetera. A shoe is different from a hat or a shirt or whatever. But the way you put it together is how it connects. Because you're telling a new story. Curation, you're telling a new story. The artist is telling a story. You're combining all these different musics and you're telling a new story. You're breathing new life. You say, and whether it's these are the hottest records, or these are records to make love to, these are the records to cookouts, or this is exercise music, or this is the '60s, or it's Black History Month, and we're celebrating Ella Fitzgerald, or whatever. You know what I mean? So with Richmond and Baltimore, you say, hey, this Baltimore has club music, and Richmond might have something else. But this is a part of our diversity, you know what I mean? And then even DC music, you have the go-go is so different from some of the R&B that comes, you know what I mean? Or the hip hop will be street, very street, like, you see what I'm saying? So what happens is that's where the curators, instead of, you know what I mean? That's why curators are important.
All right, so that concludes our panel. We getting ready for our break. Your records panel, everybody give Tuma a hand. Tuma, I would like to say thank you so much.
Thank you,
And I just want to say, when they talk about relationships, me and Tuma have known each other for a while, and this has taken a long time for us to be able to do this. Like, I had to get approval from YouTube, and it's about timing. I had to get approval.
Yeah. Oh, they don't play.
Like, we got it, and after I got it, I promise you, I just said YouTube. I can say it all day long, and it's a difference, but we've talked about this for years, you know what I'm saying, and trying to bring, I remember being at Broccoli City, and I stood up in the panel, I was like, Tuma, like, what's up, man? Why you don't support me? He was like, Bird, I know you. I do. I love you a lot. I love your brand. He said, but everybody in the world don't know you. So I just think that's what, it's hard to hear, right? I hear it. So I want you guys to hear it. Like, just always think that everybody don't know you. So we conclude this panel. I'm going to let y'all talk a little bit. Everybody's want to break in your record neck. I thank you for staying. We're going to kind of combine the last panel with the one. We're going to have a good conversation, and we're going to keep going. So, yep. Let's get it going to the next panel, breaking my records. Everybody that's on there, Emo Island, see Marada in here, see the DJs, Nonchalant. Y'all can come up, talk to Tuma for a minute, then we gonna